Hold on tight for the next hour. You're entering into a place, a zone called the alternative to the alternative media. It's a place, a special place where even truth seekers fear to tread.
All right, people, let's move like we've got a purpose.
Affirmative.
Okay, glad you're back on the Investigative Journal. I'm Greg Anthony. You're listening to FirstAmendmentRadio.com on July 13th, 2017 day on our calendar. And I have to keep saying the dates because these days just keep rolling one into another. And so it just keeps me focused for a while. But I know a lot of people, most people that listen to this show, come to get their daily dose of the Vatican-led New World Order. And I always wondered why, and I thought perhaps they feel the way I do about it. I just kept trying to figure out what the hell is going on in this world, and how does the major religions and the major governments of the world play a part in destroying it. And if we look at it from a category of a one world order, one world religion, then you can understand that we're under a satanic spell. And most Americans are under that satanic spell and they don't even know it. And that's why I do this show, to maybe bring some people out of that satanic spell. Well, we've got a lot of days I've spent most of my days in the last 12 years doing that. And it seems like only a few people come out of it. But those that do benefit. But today, I want to do something a little bit different. Today, I want to talk about, besides dealing with these issues that many would say are out of our control, and of course, we're not going to change the world. But what's not out of our control is our feelings about and our understanding about these really difficult subjects. And with that goes a very big price. And what I mean by that is it takes a lot of time. And I'm not only talking about research time that you would bill if you were a lawyer, but I'm talking about contemplation time. I'm talking about time away from the books, away from all the study, that you just in your mind are weighing all of the factors. And the factor you're trying to really weigh is, what am I here for? What is my life all about? And what I find sometimes is that people that delve into this subject deeply become obsessed. And I say that because I did. And there was a time, and it's luckily I'm not that way now, where I think I lost all feelings. I lost all control. I was just absorbed in this subject so much that I had to find out, but yet it was like I wasn't living anymore. But I was living on a premise that I am not going to put up with these people that are bringing this world to its knees, whether it be religious fanatics, whether it be government agents, whether it be the CIA, the FBI, all these people, the Vatican, Illuminati. I was trying to fight them tooth and nail. And what happened was, it was a war you can't win. And so what I'm getting at is that once something really important came into my life, and what I mean by that is, whether it be a lost faith, whether it be something that I could actually feel for and care for again, it made my life so much more meaningful. So in the last couple days, my life has changed so much in my personal life that I believe that by ignoring it and giving you another dose of the Vatican-led New World Order would be really not fair. Not fair to you and not fair to me. Because what I've learned is that I'm trying to basically, I don't know who listens. I know some people that listen, but I don't know what's going through their minds. But I want them to be centered, to have a life, even though you're living in a world that you see is so skewed that you feel that you're not a part of it. But sometimes when tragedy hits, and it could be the loss of a very close loved one, could be your sister, could be your brother, could be your son, could be your father, could be your uncle, could be the neighbor next door who helped you, could be anything. It could be the horse that you were so close to. It could be the dog or the cat that gave you comfort at a time in your life when there was nothing else. And that's when I come to my story. Because for about 14 years, my family has been me and 2 dogs. And together, the 3 of us enjoyed life. We had good times together, bad times. We had everything. And people say, well, I was thinking about some people I've met over the years that really don't understand life. And I know some of them looked at me that knew me well like I was a bit crazy, because there was never a time, and I was very lucky because I could work from home, do things. You'd never see me without them. And I had people that were living near me that would say, if they saw me without my dogs, they wouldn't even know me. They wouldn't recognize me. And I know some people behind their backs thought I was a bit crazy, but I wasn't. At least in my mind. I don't care what they think. But the reason is that in life, there are certain things that are important to you. And what's important to me is, I never ever felt the way I do today in my whole life. I've lost my mother when I was 10, but I didn't know it really, because when she was dying, I really didn't understand it. And so when she was gone, yes, it was a tragedy. And people will say, well, you're equating a loss of a dog to the loss of your mother. And I'm saying yes. And I'm sure that my 2 dogs are with her right now. But the point I'm trying to get at is that the grieving process in a human being are so different. Some people may not care one thing or think you're crazy because you're grieving over. I knew someone that was so sad by losing her cat that it was almost as if the world ended. And I understand that now, and I was young. Now, if this happened to me 30 years ago, I doubt if I would have felt the same, because at that point in my life, well, I didn't really have animals when I was a journalist traveling all the world. And when I finally settled down, having difficulties in human relationships, and I'll admit that, I settled down with my 2 dogs. And these 2, Miss Moose, who I had for 14 years, and Max for 10, were with me every day. And within 6 months now, they are gone. And I'm sitting in this house, and I say it again, alone. I'm going, holy, holy, holy. It doesn't feel right. So what do? Do you just kind of like, most people will say, well, you got to get tough. You got to forget about it. You got to do this. And I say, bull. Every person needs to go through it themselves. And the reason I'm doing the show this way is to show you that all of the knowledge that you have in life, no matter how much you gain, whether the story of the Vatican-led New World Order, or not, you understand the complete understanding and understands the importance of the relationships you have, whether they be your human relationships or your animal relationships. And so to dwell on the Vatican today would be unfair to you and to me, because my mind's not on it, and I might as well not even do a show. But I decided to do this because I wanted to help. I said, man, what happens when these guys go? I got no reason to be here. And people would say, well, yes, look at all the things you could do. Well, that's not the way I feel right now, and I think that's important. So I decided to express myself the last couple of days, and I got some great responses from people. I got a couple one was kind of weird, and I won't even talk about it, but most of them were great. And someone sent me a website called rainbowbridge.com. And it's a site that a woman started for people who are grieving about their pets. And so this woman who sent it to me happens to live near where I grew up in Burlington, Wisconsin. Very interesting. So I decided to look at it. And there's an article written by the woman, and I emailed her today about some grief issues, and it helped. But she said suggestions. This is an article that is written on the site, and it says suggestions for someone who is grieving. Now, it's not only for animals, pets, what have you. And you know, it reminds me, when I was training horses, I can remember a story, and I tell people this a lot. I've given birth to a few horses, and not because I wanted to, but because they came before the vet could get there, so you got to learn how to get them out. And I remember one time we had a horse, a mare that gave birth, and the horse, the colt couldn't get up right away, and it was very sick, so we had the vet come over. And it had a blood deficiency, and it wasn't going to make it. But we tried everything we could, and through the dead of night, we had hay bales there, and we're sitting there, and the vet's trying to do something, but the mare wouldn't leave, and the mare just sat there over our shoulders. I'll never forget it. Her head leaning over my shoulder, putting it on my shoulder. She knew we were trying to help her baby. And if you don't think animals grieve, you should have been there that night, because it taught me a lot. So, look, you may be grieving, like I said, over a loved one. You may be grieving for things I don't even understand, but I think this article will help. And it's a bit long, and I'll try to get through most of it. But why don't we do this? And it starts out like this. Your fur baby has left your life, and you will never be the same. And I may add some comments. And I'll tell you this right now, I'm not going to be the same after this. But what has happened to you may be the most heart-wrenching experience you have ever known. Perhaps you have lost what you thought you could not possibly live without. Oh, that was me. Perhaps something is taken from you that has given your life deep meaning and great joy. And you know, let me just interject something. During this period of time, Tony Alamo died. Now we had a close relationship with a lot of those people at the ministry. But I watched them change right after that. They got deeply saddened. And so I know they're going through the grieving process. And I even contacted one of the members, and he'd lost his daughter the same time, who died in a swimming accident. I'm going, what is going on with me? I got friends losing, and I know they're going through a grieving process. So maybe this will help them too. But perhaps you have been given news that threatens to be your undoing. You may find that each day has become an agony for you, that you cannot escape your anguish. And let me tell you something, that's the way I feel. Today, I escaped it a bit. And I got a cute little story to tell you in the second half hour about how that happened. But as soon as I drove home and got close to where I live, it just came right back. And I'll get back to the article. You may know what it's like to finally fall asleep, only to discover that your torture doesn't leave you. It follows you in your dreams. When you awaken, it stabs at you once more. And the night that Max died, I dreamt I saw him running on the dock. And then I saw him trying to come back to me, but he couldn't make it. Tell me, when I woke up, I wasn't in agony. But it follows you in your dreams, and when you awaken, it stabs you once more. You may wonder how long you'll be able to go on living like this. You may wonder if it will ever get better, or if there will be anything to hope for or live again for. I don't know. I wonder how many people have felt that way before about the loss of somebody they loved. It's possible that what has happened to you may not be the worst thing you've ever known. You may be able to recall times in your life when your situation seemed to be more trying than it does now. And yet, you may still find that the experience with which you're now confronted leaves you shaken and unnerved. And that is exactly the way I feel. I look back when my mother died. I didn't think I was going to be able to do it. And as I look now, I'm going, I feel just as shaken and unnerved. But back to the article. Your feelings may rush over you unpredictably, beyond your control. You may hurt inside deeply. You may wonder how long your life will go on this way. However long this troubling time lasts, chances are it will seem too long. Almost always it goes on too long for people around you, and especially those who do not understand how much your life has been affected. And these are the people I take issue with. I say this myself. These people want you to return to a normal, more quickly life, the way you used to be, than you're able. They may not realize that your old normal may not be your new normal. They may act concerned if your sadness persists. They may resist your needing to talk about what has happened to you and what is happening with you. Worst of all, they may not understand at all, telling you, oh, it was only a pet. You're being around, and I'm saying this, you're grieving. I might punch somebody that say that, but your grieving may go on longer than you want it to. You may tire of feeling always tired. You may grow weary of your weariness. You may feel weakened by the continued pain. Your task, however, is to remain in your pain long enough, not a day longer than you need to, but not a day less than your loss demands. And that, folks, is a really good sentence. Now, for however uncomfortable this time is for you, it is serving a purpose. It is helping you heal. And all the wounds heal the same way, from the inside out. And let me tell you something. This brings back memories of someone who I was close to that lost her granddaughter. And I watched her go from a gregarious human being to someone that I didn't even know. And it's an amazing story to watch. And I really think about that now, and I wish that it never happened to her. But anyway, you may feel weakened. You gotta forever, how long, all the wounds heal the same way, from the inside out. And the words that follow were written for people like you, and for times like this. Their purpose is to lead you through these days with as much comfort and as much security as reasonably possible. If you remember nothing else, remember this: you're not alone. Others have made the journey before you that you're making now, and they have returned to lead lives that are both engaging and fulfilling. Others are making a similar journey at this moment. You may not even know them, and they are learning as you are learning. Others are around you who wish to support. They want to support you and do what they can for you. There are companions for you along the way. Now, each person, this is my thinking here, each person is different. For me, I don't want to be around anybody for a while. I don't want people to console me. I know people do over the internet, and I thank you, but I don't think I could handle it if you were right in my own room now. I'm the kind of person that needs to be alone for a while. Now, my friend who lost her granddaughter was completely different. So that's just an example. But anyway, you may not have experienced, they're companions for you. Others may want to be around you. It's all different. Not all the thoughts written here will be equally appropriate for you. Some will fit your situation better than others. Take the ideas and suggestions that suit you the best and offer you the most. Then leave the rest for other people or for another time in your life. May you find here a sense of hope and the assurance that all is not lost. Yes, you have been hurt. Yes, your path is not easy. Yes, the way seems long. But no, you do not have to suffer forever. No, you do not have to be completely overcome. No, you do not have to travel entirely alone. I need to hear that. You can do what you fear you cannot. You can find ways to help yourself and ways to be helped. You can make this time of growth, and you can become the person you wish to become. In other words, you can heal. You can be whole again. You can be you. And the best way to handle your feelings is not to handle them, but to feel them. You may receive unhelpful messages from others about how to deal with your feelings as you go through this chaotic time in your life. You may receive such messages even from yourself. Here are 3 examples. Let me check the time. Got about 4 minutes. You must be strong now. Sometimes you're expected to be strong for your own sake, and sometimes it's for other people, usually those in your own family. Be strong, of course, has another translation. Don't show that you're weak by putting your emotions to an open display. You're handling this very well, says another. The translation here is, you're not crying and acting upset in front of others. It's reported that an entire generation took important cues about handling their loss from Jackie Kennedy on national TV in the days following JFK's murder. Her private, reserved way need not be yours. Stop already. It was only a pet. What are you crying for? Many people know how to respond better to happy faces than the sad ones. They have special difficulty when those faces stay sad for a long time. What are you so sad for? In a subtle way, they're saying to people like you, hurry up now, let's get this part over with. They're saying this more than their own comfort than for yours. And if you hear these types of people, these similar messages, you will do yourself a favor to ignore them. The best way to go through this process of dealing with loss is by following your own timetable and with your feelings firmly in place. The healthiest way to deal with your emotions is to feel them as they happen whenever that is, wherever that occurs. Great advice. I'm going to read one more paragraph, then we'll have to take a break, and then I'll come back. But you may experience feelings you don't expect. You may be sad about what has happened and what it means for your life. You may feel depressed, even despairing. You may find that you're more afraid than normal. You may feel lonely. You may even feel more lonely when you're with other people, including people you love. You may feel tired all the time. You may be easily distracted. And that's, folks, and I'm going to come back to the article and give you a little story regarding the girl that runs this website that I communicated with today through emails. And I think it'll help you understand a little bit more about the grieving process, because we all are going to go through it. Whether you have in the past, chances are you have. There's always going to be something in the future. And one of my thoughts was, I don't want to be around any people. I'm not going to get close relationships anymore. I'm not going to go through this kind of pain again. Boy, is that shutting your life down? Wow, that's the way I feel now. And if I said otherwise, I'd be lying. But I think that's what she was saying in the article. Let your feelings come out as they feel at the time you feel them. Don't hold back. And I'm so lucky to be able to do this on the radio, because maybe it'll help somebody else. And at the same time, help me. But anyway, we'll be back in 3 minutes on the Investigative Journal.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The following program is labeled dangerous and off limits by the supreme Jesuit command. But stand tall, people. Listen up, and you may just learn something.
Oh, dear Lord Jesus, this ain't happening, man. This can't be happening, man. This isn't happening.
Okay, let's get this show on the road, as they say. Second half hour of the Investigative Journal. And I have to mention the date because I've got the days all screwed up. But it's the July 13th, 2017. I might have said July 12th. I don't know. Maybe I didn't. But anyway, I just wanted to clear it up. But we're back in the second half hour. And we're going over an article that's on a website called Rainbow Bridge. And it was sent to me by a listener to help me through the grieving process of losing my 2 favorite friends in the last 6 months and how it changed my life. And in fact, at the break, I was talking to Max. I'm saying, don't worry, I'll get your food in a minute. We're a little late on the show today. But anyway, so we're reading this article, which I think is really interesting, and I am enjoying it. I know you must be too, because you never know when it's going to happen. If you looked at me 8 months ago, I said this could never happen. So you never know. You never know what life has in store for you. So perhaps if you're not grieving now, put this in your saddlebag for when you will be. So anyway, I promised to give you a story that happened to me during this whole process of losing Moose 6 months ago to pancreatic. It was a pancreatic condition. And she went very calmly in my arms. But Max, 3 months ago, was running around with me, and then all of a sudden he had a small limp. 3 months later, he can't walk. He's debilitated. He's has no control of his body functions, and this cancer, bone cancer, just ate him alive quickly. The vet told me after we made the final diagnosis, which it had to be 99% that they can survive 8 months. I knew he wasn't going to. I know my dog. But anyway, so I'm going through that, and about 2 weeks ago, I have to set the stage here. I go into an office. It's a legal office in Ensenada, and we work. It's kind of a legal clinic for people who can't afford attorneys, and there's an attorney's office in Orange County. But surprisingly, you'd think, well, we're only handling poor Mexicans. No, we're doing a lot of cases in pro per, which means for them without, very cheaply. And a lot of these people are, white Anglos that are really they're leading a tough life. So I go into this office, and so in Ensenada, it's not like an American office. In the back of the office, it's kind of like a junkyard, but it's not. A guy lives there who owns the building. But there's an open area, and there's a couple of junk cars, and he's got a German Shepherd who's turned out to be a female German Shepherd. I don't think she's full grown yet. And when I was grieving over Max maybe 3 weeks ago, or a month ago, when I first started over there, I looked out the window and I caught her attention. And she was kind of in the distance. And I looked at her and I said, I can communicate with animals without speaking. And I did it I'm not Dr. Doolittle, but I remember doing it with a couple of horses I had, and it seemed to work. So I looked at her, and because I was still in this state of shock with Max, I told her, I looked and she caught my eye. She just wouldn't go away. And I said, sit down, but I didn't. I said it silently. And guess what? She sits down. Then I look at her and I say, just communicate with her telepathically, lay down. And she lays down, and I'm going, wow, what's going on here? Then guess what happens? I tell her, come over here, telepathically. And she runs over to the bottom of the window. And this goes on for a few days. And then there's a staircase coming up to a little balcony between our two offices, and she can get through them. She's got to sneak through. Now for 3 weeks she's been up there. She waits for me. In fact, she snuck into the office, and there's a whole bunch of people into the office. And she ran right to me. I happened to be on the couch, and she jumped on me. And all the people in the office were like, wow, maybe he's right, because I kind of jokingly told them that I communicate with animals. And so this is going on. Like today, she's waiting for me, and I see her 2 or 3 times. And so I communicated this to the lady who runs the website, who has this article on her website. And I assume she wrote it. And if she did, it's a great article. And I told her this. And I said, it's strange. I can't figure it out. And she wrote me back and she said, you may want to think this way, that Max and Miss Moose had that communicated with the dog and told her to go help you because they knew you were suffering. And I'm thinking about it. And she writes back, and I said, well, I don't know if that could be the case. She says, I've seen it happen a number of times. And she deals, you go to this website, rainbowbridge.com. And she said, I've seen it happen many times. But here I am now. I went and petted that dog today twice. And I communicated to her. I said, man, I'm so sad I lost my other dogs. And she was like licking me. And so tomorrow, Max had a whole bunch of food left over. I'm going to bring her a bowl of his food. And I said to myself, no more dogs. And this isn't like I'm going out looking for a dog. And it's not even my dog, but I feel like I have some comfort when I go into that office now. But anyway, I wanted to tell you that little story because it's very, very strange to me, but that's exactly how it happened. So if she's right and Miss Moose sent her over while Max was grieving, and then Max now is talking to her, get over there and help him, that little shepherd is up on that porch every day waiting for me. Oh well. Now, back to the article. So, there are other feelings you may not expect to have, she said. You may be angry. Oh boy, I was angry. I was enraged. I was yelling at God. You may be unusually anxious and not understand why. Well, I walk around the house for no reason. I get up in the middle of the night. I do things I go into the garage. You may feel a real sense of relief as if a burden has been lifted from you. Afterward, you may feel embarrassed that you felt so relieved. You may feel guilty, unexpectedly so. Well, I feel guilty about thinking about having another dog because I want to. It's like a child. What do you do when your child dies? You get another one? But maybe there's a bit of a difference. Another sensation you may experience is this: almost no feeling at all. You may feel empty and numb. Oh, I feel that way sometimes. That's a common reaction at first. It's a sign that your body may be protecting you for a while until you are more ready to process all that has occurred. And that's exactly what happened to me the night that Max went. And same thing when Moose went. Same thing when my mother went. It takes courage to face all you must face. It takes a huge amount of energy. And at a time when your energy reserves are in short supply, it takes determination to keep doing day after day what is yours to these days, to feel all that you feel. You cannot escape your emotions. Don't even try. Your choice is simply this: you can experience your feelings and move through them as they surface, or you can put them off until another time. Now let me mention this. As a child, and she's right, when I lost my mother, I went through my teenage years forgetting about it. I didn't even want to be at home. I was out with my friends all the time, and I don't think I really even cried until I was like 21, and so I held everything in, and it's not good. I put it off to another time. But you don't have the choice of putting them off forever. Oh, I know that. Somehow, sometimes your feelings will demand your attention. By then, they may be even stronger and deeper than now. Remember, the best way out is always through. The best way to get beyond your feelings is to experience them as fully as you can and as often as you need to. Only by giving your loss expression will you begin to heal. It's one thing to feel what you feel. It's another to make your feelings known. Yet the more you can do that, the faster you'll be able to heal, and the more completely. Everyone approaches this matter of expression in their own unique way. So you'll have to figure it out what's right for you. Some people find that talking with just one other person works best. That might be a friend, a family member, or a professional of some sort. Others prefer to talk one-on-one with various people. They have enough to say and enough different ways to say it that it feels appropriate to communicate with several. Just do what suits you. You may want to talk with a person you've long known, or with someone you've never met. You might chat informally over lunch, or at home or some other quiet place. Or you might talk more formally by meeting at a certain place for a series of conversations focused entirely on your particular issues. You may have the option of joining a support group composed of people going through what you're going through. These groups can be very helpful. Make sure you can trust whomever it is you're opening up to, though. What you have to say is personal enough that it needs to stay between the two of you or within the group of you. Find someone who's a good listener, someone who will give you the space to say what you need to say. Of course, you don't need to limit your expression to only speaking your feelings. Many people report that writing about what's going on inside them is a helpful release. Taking the time to construct your thoughts on paper or on a computer screen forces a deliberateness that talking may not provide. If you haven't been a journal writer, consider becoming one now. Write as often as you want, but try to write regularly and always write honestly. You might write long letters to someone you know who wants to hear from you, or you might compose letters that you never send. Letters to someone who is no longer in your life, or letters to yourself, or letters to God. You might try your hand at poetry or with a fictional story. You might write the true story of what has transpired in your life. Sometimes your feelings cannot be contained by words. Who can improve upon crying as a means of expressing sadness or frustration? Did you know that the chemical makeup of your tears of sorrow or grief is quite different from your tears of happiness and relief? There's growing evidence that crying is healthy for you as it is emotionally. There are other wordless ways for expressing what you feel: drawing, painting, weaving, sewing, photographing, sculpturing. Some people find dancing expressive. Other people prefer to sing. Now, I'd like that. I like the singing part. You find me, sometimes I'll be singing to get rid of this. I don't dance very well. Some turn naturally to playing a musical instrument. You know, this is funny. I play the guitar, but I don't want to see it right now. I think I'd smash it over something. But anyway, however you choose to express yourself, know that you are encouraging your own healing in doing what you do. You are finding ways to make sense of what has happened and to accept, bit by bit, more and more, the reality of what it all means. So, do what's natural for you. Express yourself in the ways that are uniquely you. Do it often, and do it the best way, with feeling. Sometimes it makes perfect sense to act a little crazy. Yes. Wow. That opens up a whole new category. Because I remember I wrote a friend who I communicate with over email and told her, I said, what happened to Max? And I said, I may do something crazy. And she said, Greg, don't. Don't get in trouble. Well, what I meant by crazy wasn't that. Yes, these can be nutty times. Your sense of security may be shaken. Old ways of thinking may no longer be valid. Former ways of doing things may no longer be possible. You may feel you have lost your center. In such circumstances, it's normal for you to act differently. You may have a hard time concentrating. Oh boy, tell me about it. I had a hard time concentrating before this. Now, forget about it. And you may be more forgetful than you've ever been. You may find it difficult to make decisions. Or you may make decisions quite quickly, only to change your mind. That's what I said, because as soon as that happened to Max, I said, I'm getting out of this house that I just got. Now I feel, well, I better not get out just yet. And then in a little while I'll feel like I should get out, but only to change your mind just as fast or just as often. You may not weigh carefully the consequences of what you decide. Close friends may tell you that you're acting a little strange. They may not tell you that with their words, but you can see it in their eyes. You may see it in your own eyes when you look in the mirror. Oh boy, isn't that the truth? My eyes look terrible. German dramatist Gottfried Lessing once wrote, there are things which must cause you to lose your reason, or you have none to lose. If your loss has been severe, and if your pain is intense, you may have cause to lose your reason. You may feel and act not quite normal. That happens naturally when everything around you feels abnormal. If there are signs this is happening to you, however, keep the following ideas in mind. First of all, try not to panic. You're actually in good company. Lots of people pass through the crazies, emerging with all their faculties fully intact. Remember that you sometimes need to fall apart before you can come back together in a healthy way. Select one person whom you trust for their honesty and their maturity, and ask them to be your gauge. If you want feedback about how you're responding, or if you want assistance with your decision making, turn to that person. Don't attempt to follow everyone's advice. It won't work. Talk things out. Speak whatever's on your mind. You may find that some of your thoughts are irrational, but you won't know that until you've heard yourself saying them out loud. Sometimes it's only after you've spoken opposing ideas that you know thoughts cannot be true at the same time. Keep a journal about what's going on inside. Then go back in a few weeks or a few months and see how your thinking is changing. Notice the ways you're growing. Take yourself lightly at times. While your life may feel justifiably heavy these days, it's still possible that you may begin to see the humor in some of the things you've said and done. Give a smile to yourself and be forgiving. Remember your stories so you can retell them, and one day as a way of helping others. And isn't that a good article to look at? I really think it is. And I did want to mention, it's interesting because if you go to her website, you can find a lot of things on there. She has a lot of support groups. She encourages people to help her, to talk to people who are grieving. So I immediately said, well, I'll fill out that little application and I'll try to help people. I can work on Saturdays and Sundays and people who have problems. Then I said at the end, I said, well, you know, when Moose died and Max died, there was a time in my life I said, that's the only reason for living and maybe I should go. And she said, Greg, maybe you should wait before you help other people. You need to maybe get your house in order first. And that was good advice. So anyway, go to that site and you can find a lot of different things. There's a poem on that site that I put up on my blog, and if you want to go to arcticbeacon.com. By the way, we're running a pledge drive, and if you want to lend assistance and donate, we're listener-sponsored, that'll take you to my new site called greganthonysjournal.wordpress.com, and you can donate there. Please, we could use the help. But I want to read this because the poem was sent to me as well, and it's on her site. And it says this. It's called the Rainbow Bridge. Just this side of heaven is a place called Rainbow Bridge. When an animal dies that has been especially close to someone here, that pet goes to Rainbow Bridge. There are meadows and hills for all of our special friends so they can run and play together. There's plenty of food and water and sunshine, and our friends are warm and comfortable. All the animals who had been ill and old are restored to health and vigor. Those who were hurt or maimed are made whole and strong again, just as we remember them in our dreams of days and times gone by. The animals are happy and content, except for one little small thing. They each miss someone very special to them, who had to be left behind. They all run and play together. But the day comes when one suddenly stops and looks into the distance. His bright eyes are intent. His eager body quivers. Suddenly he begins to run from the group, flying over the green grass, his legs carrying him faster and faster. You have been spotted. And when you and your special friend finally meet, you cling together in joyous reunion, never to be parted again. The happy kisses rain upon your face. Your hands again caress the beloved head, and you look once more into the trusting eyes of your pet, so long gone from your life, but never absent from your heart. Then you cross the Rainbow Bridge together. Author unknown. But what a great little poem. And it's kind of uplifting, and it is kind of the way of looking at how we look at things. You know, I did a few stories this week on do animals go to heaven and biblical verses and all these kind of things. But you know, it's the feelings. It's the imagination when you shut your eyes and you view what you think is up there. And could it be really that way? Well, sure. Why not? What are the limits of God? None. He may create heaven differently for each of us. He could do that, couldn't he? He could put every one of us in our own little heaven. And who's to say he can't? If he can do everything, then who's to say he can't do that? And maybe that's not it. But the point I'm trying to make is we sometimes close our minds so much that we allow narrow-minded thinking to, give us this, maybe what is a distorted view of heaven. Or maybe just what the books say about it. And maybe just what your pastor says about it. Well, maybe God has the final say on really what it is. Could it be that it isn't like it's said? Maybe it's more democratic. And you go up there and God says, well, let's all get together and figure out where this guy belongs. And then all the animals sit there and all the people sit there and they do a hand count. You're either in or who knows? I mean, he could do it. Or maybe it's the way that we've been taught. He can do that too. So anyway, what I'm getting at is, let your feelings go when you're feeling grief. And I am feeling it tonight, so I'm doing that. And I know that you may not be tonight, but maybe there will be a time, or you have in the past. And there's always a way of growth to get to that next step. And then maybe cross that rainbow bridge. Just like that little poem said. And by the way, go to that website if you really want to see what else this woman has put up there. I really will put this show on my website tomorrow. And boy, I bet it's helped a lot of people, because it really has helped me. See you tomorrow on the Investigative Journal.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today, so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.